associates. All right, so this video is just going to go over the peer review assignment based on the career application materials. And so this one replaces the sort of activities that we've been doing. Like this peer edit is your activity. And so you should have received, a partner and gone through that quick peer review through Canvas on your associate's career application materials. So now for this, I want you to actually draft a memo detailing your feedback. So again, right, remember memos are those more formal workplace documents. And so you can imagine yourself that you kind of did like a little interview with your partner, and you actually will need to contact them and ask them a few questions. So you're doing a mini interview, and now you're writing up sort of the reports and your feedback of that interview and your partner's application to give to like HR or your hiring manager. So it's a little bit more formal. That's why it's written up as a memo and not just, like an email or paper, right? So also you will be submitting this memo to Canvas, because I will be grading your memo design and sort of your feedback and your thoughts, because critiquing other people's work can be a good way to get better at critiquing our own work. But then you also will send a copy of the memo to your associate, so that way they can work on revising their cover letter and resume, so that way they can also succeed in getting jobs and whatnot after class. So the task. First, you need to host a mini interview with your partner. You can use whatever technology or whatever you want to do that. The big thing is I want you to be able to ask them these questions and kind of practice with responding to these questions as well, because they definitely are common sort of interview type questions, and it's just good to have an answer kind of ready for these types of questions. So basically, get the answers to these questions from your partner, incorporate them into the memo as you're helping to explain to me the background, the objectives, the status of their materials. Right, so yeah, you can read those, right? What are you interested in pursuing? It's really similar to that, where do you see yourself, or like, what are your future goals type of question. That's pretty common in an interview. I was just asked that in the interview I did a few weeks ago. What are your greatest strengths and weaknesses? Also really common. And just kind of note to self when you're trying to identify both your strengths and your weaknesses. Think about how your strengths particularly adds value to that company. So connect the dots for the interviewer. And when you talk about weaknesses, it's really good to connect and address how you have been working through that weakness, right? So don't just leave it at, oh, I'm really bad at time management. Like, okay, well, many people are, but then you can go, above and beyond, saying, oh, well, I've struggled with time management in the past, but I have adopted a few new strategies such as Trello to help me stay organized and on track. And I sit down and make a to-do list every single morning to ensure that I get everything done in time and prioritize, yada, yada. So, anytime you have a weakness, talk about how you have acknowledged and are working on that weakness to help the company. I also want you to ask your partner about any missing experiences and requirements. So you'll get a feel from them on like, hey, what do you need to do before you're out in the workforce? See kind of if they are aware of the gaps on their resume, can be really helpful, and why there's a gap on their resume and whatnot. Also want you to start thinking about culture fit for companies. Of course, when you're starting out, we don't necessarily have as much flexibility in being as choosy, but the more experiences that you gain, and when you start moving up levels, you can start actually kind of selecting companies on what's going to be the best culture fit for you. And even though, yes, right when you graduate, you got to get whatever job you can. If it's a company and the culture is, not really going to fit with you, you're probably not going to be as happy there. No, one internship I was at, I just did not fit with the company culture at all. And it was like the worst summer. I liked the job itself and I learned so much and I liked all the people I worked with a lot, but just, yeah, the company culture was really super social and it had I did not jive with it at all and did not enjoy all of the happy hours and office parties we had to go to. So, start thinking about that, where you're going to be happy, and your work quality and sort of efficiency and just the things you produce is going to go down if you're not happy and you don't fit there. So just kind of start thinking about what size of company do you really want to target and try to apply for and work for, what industry or sort of segment of the market. Like Preston, right? He's a chemical engineer and he could have gone into like environmental stuff, pharmaceuticals, and then he ended up in oil and gas. So kind of think about, are there any sort of divisions within your industry that you would rather be in or not be in, that kind of thing. And then lastly, ask your partner how, they define success and the last time they felt successful. Another kind of potentially interesting interview question I was asked. And it was kind of a difficult one. Like, how do I? So start thinking about those. All right, so then after you interview your partner, review and critique, right, their resume, cover letter, and looked at their LinkedIn. If you can't access any of those, then, obviously that's a problem, because if the hiring manager is trying to look at your LinkedIn and it's private, then that's going to raise some eyebrows. And basically you're going to lastly create this memo on your impressions, questions, concerns, interests. Basically, I want you to articulate your reactions and suggestions for improvement in this memo. Again, it's tailored towards like your supervisor, I guess, but just keep in mind that your partner will get a copy of it. You'll send a copy to them. So, be constructive in your criticism to actually help them out, right? And so then there's just some, key points to keep in mind. Expectations, again, it's a memo, so 1 to 2 pages should do it. Single spaced, and make sure you incorporate, right, your document design, organization, editing, all the things you've been working on this semester. And in particular, you need to have a memo appropriate header, right? Headers, particularly if you're sending it to like the hiring committee, they want to be able to track where it came from and who it's about and who it went to. So get that header in there. And then make sure you have content headings as well. So pay attention to your document design. There's a lot of information we've asked for, so use headings appropriately. Make sure you're identifying the strengths and weak points of these documents and then actually offering good feedback and suggestions to help your partner, which then should translate into things you can look for on your own resume and cover letter and things in LinkedIn and things you can check for. So skills, critiquing application documents, right? Even though sort of HR is like, oh, that's hiring. Actually, it's much more likely you will be involved in the hiring process for your divisions and your team. And then once you decide who's going to be hired, usually then you send those files over to HR and they handle the paperwork itself, not necessarily the interview and hiring of that person. So hopefully this will be a little bit of good practice at just critiquing resumes and LinkedIn and whatnot. I also want you to practice assessing how stories and experiences actually translate to job skills and responsibilities, right? College, especially, yes, you're learning all these skills and tools and resources and ideas that are going to help inform you as an employee, but this isn't job training 101, right? You get job training at the particular job, and so it's kind of your sort of goal with a resume and a cover letter especially, is to show that hiring person, hey, yeah, I went to this school, and while there, I had these experiences that helped taught me, the skills that are going to be helpful, when you're training me for this specific job, right? So really think about, instead of saying, oh yeah, you asked for somebody who is, competent in public speaking. You can't just say in the cover letter, I'm good at public speaking. Oh, okay, well, what is good? And everyone says they're good. Instead, say, oh, well, actually, while at Car State University, not only did I take classes on public speaking where I had to present 5 different speeches to my class of 25 students, but I also ran X organization and gave the keynote address at our end of year party, right? So that shows that you actually did something involved with public speaking. And then lastly, reviewing work from your peers and assisting in the revision process, because this is a learning community, so help them out. And the objectives, right, to loosely simulate the hiring process by peer reviewing application materials. And definitely help your peers and associates out and practice some interviewing skills. Bye.